It's 5 p.m. Please note this meeting is being recorded and will be available shortly thereafter for scheduled and on-demand viewing on any smartphone or tablet device. If anyone else is recording the meeting, please notify the chair. I don't see anybody. Yeah. Pursuant to Governor Healy's March 28, 2025 signing of Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025, extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, general laws, Chapter 30A, Section 20, until June 30th, 2027. This meeting of the Chatham Planning Board is being conducted in person and via remote participation. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen to this meeting while in progress may do so by calling the phone number 508-945-4410. Conference ID is 1448505#, or join the meeting online via Microsoft Teams through the link in the posted agenda. While this is a live broadcast and simulcast on Chatham TV, Xfinity Channel 1072, despite our best efforts, we may not be able to provide real-time access. We will post a record of this meeting on the town's website as soon as possible. I'll begin with a roll call vote. Catherine Epler.
Present.
Warren Chain.
Present.
Bob Wirtschafter.
Present.
Charlene Greenhall.
Present.
Frank Shear.
Present.
Bob Dubus.
Present.
And Art Sprue, I'm present. Does any member have to recuse himself from any item on the agenda today? Okay, let's go. Let's begin with the minutes from July 28th. Are there any comments by? Yes.
I had a couple which I actually already sent to Annie,
Okay.
but I will go through them.
Sure.
Catherine is no longer the vice chair.
That's right,
Oh, yes.
And down under public hearing, for 79, this is page 1, Forest Beach Road. Oh, 1, 2, 3, first full paragraph. There was the abbreviation of COC. I suggested that statement of conditions should be spelled out the first time and then can be abbreviated. And moving to page 2, under the third paragraph, where it begins Mr. Chain, the third line down, the word conditions should be covenant.
release of covenant.
Yep. And then on page,
Yeah, I didn't catch that either.
and on page 3, on both of the approval not required plans, after the motion, at the end of each motion, it should say, as it meets the necessary requirements for endorsement, because that was part of the motion. And other than that, they were great.
Any other comments? Okay, with that, do I have a motion, Charlene?
I would move approval of the July 28, 2025 meeting minutes as corrected.
And do I have a second?
Second.
Do a roll call vote. Catherine Halpern.
I approve.
Warren Chain.
I approve.
Bob Wirtschafter.
I approve.
Charlene Greenhall.
Approve.
Frank Shear.
Approve.
Bob Dubus.
Approve.
And Art Sprue, I approve. Okay, the next item is site plan review for 240 Cedar Street, the town DPW pump station. And if you could introduce yourself, I'd appreciate it. And
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Rob Faley, Director of Public Works.
And Jeff Gregg from GHD, consultant for the town of Chatham.
Thank you. All right, can you give us a brief introduction into your project here?
Yep, so this was the pumping station that we proposing on Cedar Street. We came in for a pre-planning board meeting. I'm trying to remember the official term, but I think in August, where we presented essentially the same package that we have here, and there were some requests for some additional information, one of which was the first plan, which shows the general location of the pumping station along Cedar Street at the low point. The second was, there was a question about fencing detail, I believe someone wanted to see. So that was also included in the package, and I believe a detail for the retaining wall, which was also in the detail package sets. We haven't made any substantial changes to the layout of the site. And I'm trying to think of,
Maybe have some additional landscaping from the original plan as well.
oh, correct, yes, sorry. So I don't know if there were other things that you'd like me to go through or review again, or?
I'll begin with having the board members ask you any questions or comments. Catherine, want to begin with you?
I don't have any additional questions, actually.
Warren?
I don't have questions, but again, as per the comments you made about additional fencing and screening and so on, now that I was able to find the site, which was not possible before, it's quite a scenic road, and my concern is only that as careful attention as possible be given to screening the pumping station from the road. And whether that's, I assume that could involve a fence, and it could involve landscaping. But you've been very successful in other pump stations that are in public view and in special places, that they're quite well screened. But there's examples where they're not. And this is one, I think, where care should be taken that it's invisible to those who will be walking along, riding along, walking along, jogging along Cedar Street. Other than that, I have no questions.
So when we provided the plan, it's slightly modified from, a little more detail in the landscaping, but we will have plantings along the front. We are limited by the fact that it's a narrow right-of-way. Actually, it's really to the pavement edge, and then there is an overhead power line, so we have to be careful of trees growing up into power lines and things like that. We do have what we're calling a privacy fence. It'll be very similar to the sort of the stockade style that was also included in the packet, that will run along the front. And we're actually going to run up part of the side on either side. And then we'll have chain link on the back. I think the one thing we'll probably end up modifying is this piece, because this is just to the woods. So the chain link would essentially be this corner, but you would have this box would have that privacy fence as well, so that and then you'd have all the plantings that we have going in around it. There is a gate, because we do have to provide access for the operators and things like that. So you will have that on the front, so we can't screen in front of that, but that's what we have proposed.
We've heard from some of the neighbors had similar concerns as well, so we're trying to be sensitive to that. Again, as Jeff said, it's only when you're directly in front of it where the driveway and the gate is that we wouldn't be able to landscape it. All the other areas, we would try to screen it with a buffer as much as we can.
We've not seen any comments from any of the abutters on the same side of Cedar Street. I assume that the property that abuts the site here is owned by the property owners on either side?
I believe the property owner on this side and on this side of the either side of the property, I think is the same owner.
I believe so, yes.
So I think it's two separate lots, but I believe they own it all, and they're
Okay, and there's been
fairly
no
far.
objection from any of them, and there's plenty of woods out there to screen things, so.
Right,
I was
haven't
most
heard from that
concerned
property
only
owner.
about, the view from Cedar Street be as screened off as much as possible. Thank you.
Bob Werschach?
I have none.
Charlene?
I have nothing.
Frank Shear?
No questions.
All right, Bob?
I do have a question. Just by any chance, you wouldn't have a profile picture of what it's going to look like, side view?
I don't.
Sorry, it's going to be, I am talking. Don't yell at me up there. I did push the button. It's going to be well shrubbed and stuff, and like you say, you're going to see it, but going by at 20 miles an hour, you never even know it's going to be there.
So an example might be the station that we have at Meadowview, where it's got the wood stockade fence across the front. This is, I believe, because we're, the control panels are actually gonna be separate from the unit, sits down lower, so it should be very similar to that kind of configuration. And this will actually have more plantings along the front, taller ones in the back, and some lower shrubs in the front, sort of
This
the
is a
layer.
prime area for one of these because of the housing that's all around there that needs to be collected and processed and put out instead of having all them septic systems in the swamp. And Cedar Swamp, it'll help that out a lot. I think it's a good time. Thank you.
Frank, yes.
I did have one question. Could you go over the lighting plan for us?
Oh, so I apologize, I don't recall if that was, I've been putting a bunch of these packages together, so I cannot remember all the ones that, I don't think we had the lighting plan included in this one, but the lighting is all on-off switch, so, and it's night sky, so it's kind of downward facing. The intent is we have to have one over by the generator to provide light for service at the generator, and then we need to have one over by the wet well. And then the panels will have lights inside, so they'll be able to.
When you say on, off, when there's nobody there?
Yeah, it's not on a photo sensor or motion sensor, so it won't be lights turning on, or it'll only be when they're there at night and they need to operate it. They'll go turn on a light switch like you would for your front porch light.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a few things. The equipment, I think we asked you during the preliminary if you could give us some information on the height of the equipment. Is it, how high is it? Is it above the fence? Are you going to be able to visually see any of this equipment from the roadway?
So this will be slightly higher than the fence. I think the fence is 5'10", so we're under the 6-foot-high fence, so I think we called for a 5'10" fence.
Yep.
The fiberglass enclosure, I believe, is 6 feet, and it's actually sitting on top of the wet well, which has like a 3 to 6 inch reveal, so it's about 6.5 feet, but when you're standing there, you're looking through a fence, so
Yep.
if you were taller,
Okay.
most people can't see over the fence, so, and it's set back, so again, Meadowview Pumping Station would be a good example of, that's a 6-foot fence with the same size equipment behind it.
Okay. So when you were here for the preliminary, and I had asked you the question, because it showed that there was like some basins at the point of discharge of where your drain line is from the roadway.
For stormwater?
Yeah, I don't see any information associated with that. You didn't provide any stormwater information on anything on the site. And I was expecting to see something so that we can at least look at it and put it in our files.
Okay, so we have the stormwater calcs for the road. We submitted them because we had to submit all that documentation for the Conservation Commission meeting, which I have Wednesday, I think. So I can submit that. It was my understanding you just needed that for file, and I guess I apologize that it wasn't submitted when we sent the second packet.
Well, do you have still those basins that you showed in the preliminary, though?
So we hadn't finalized the design on the stormwater improvements on Cedar Street. So what we're doing is we've called for stormwater improvements. I don't know if you can show the site plan before this, the street. Yeah, that one. So we have some stormwater provisions that are going to be up near where they have some existing stormwater, and then we have some down on the other end. So we're making improvements there, and then right now, all the stormwater basically goes into almost like a straight discharge into the wetland. So we're having it go into that structure, basically a deep sump catch basin with a flared outlet.
Right. Are you infiltrating any of that?
The only thing that we can infiltrate is up further above, because the depth of groundwater is so high.
Okay.
And where we are at the wetland, we're in the wetland, so there's no way for us to get any real separation. So that's why we have the basically solids catchment before it goes into the wetland, and then we're trying to infiltrate flow that's coming down the hill that isn't infiltrated right now.
Okay. Well, what I'd like to request from you is if you can write a narrative up associated with that, just to advise us of what your stormwater is on this and the reasons why you are or aren't proposing those basins as of right now.
I can do that.
I understand, and you can file, again, for our files, the stormwater calcs, so we have it in our planning board files
Okay.
too. But I would appreciate that information. I understand exactly what you're saying there. There's no issue. I can understand why you're doing what you're doing.
Does that need, do we need to do another here? Is that something
Well,
where I can email?
we'll deal with that, but I'm not looking to, continue this. I'm just looking for that to be, documented information.
So I can send that to Christine and,
Right. We'll come,
So what I would say to you is that typically with a site plan review application, just so you are aware, there is a whole checklist of items. So like Frank had brought up about lighting and things like that, it has to, normally it's supposed to be a full, complete package.
yep.
yeah, as a
And I
matter of
guess they
fact,
were anticipating based on what they had received the first time.
so I'll just go over that. Christine summarized it a little bit. The adequacy and arrangement of the vehicle traffic to and from the station will be minimal, so that's acceptable. Adequacy and arrangement of pedestrian traffic, that's not applicable. Location arrangement, appearance of off-street parking, that's really not applicable. Location, arrangement, size, design, and site compatibility with buildings, lighting, and signs. Lighting information requested is per meeting. Again, if you could provide us just with a piece of information associated with the light fixtures that you're going to be using. Adequacy of the stormwater, again, we talked about that. Adequacy of water supply and sewage disposal, that's town services there, so there's no issue. Adequacy type arrangement of trees, shrubs, you've provided a detailed landscape plan. Again, you have the tree warden would need to be contacted for the scenic roads, so if you're gonna do anything on the road there, if you're gonna remove any trees, you have to deal with him associated with that. It's not an apartment complex, so it's not applicable. Protection of adjacent or neighboring properties. Again, that's a lighting-related issue more than anything, and screening, and I think you've addressed that. Adequacy of fire lanes. We haven't heard from the fire department on this, but I imagine that this is all reachable from the road, so that shouldn't be an issue. And then special attention, adequacy of structures, roadways, and landscapings, that's been addressed. So those were the comments. I only have one other. You show some erosion control devices at some point on the site, but then you have a limit of work line which is outside of that. Why isn't the erosion control device at the limit of work line? And that might just be something that you need to adjust. Either the limit of work needs to change or the erosion control location should be changed.
Yes, let me,
What's that?
I think it, okay, so, yes, so the intent was we established a limit of clearing line, but we allowed them to basically traverse in that
Yeah.
added space. We can make that, we can adjust it accordingly.
Yeah, I just think if you're gonna be working at the limit of works, you should have the erosion control at that sign.
I think some of it had to do with where we were trying to put new plantings.
I think it may also be the complexity of trying to install a silt fence appropriately when you have active trees and root balls and things like that, so we were keeping it within the tree, the clearing and grubbing
Okay,
limits,
all
so
right.
to speak.
I'm sure the Conservation Commission is going to have some more comments associated with that. I just wanted to raise it. Are there any other comments or questions by the board members on this? No? I think the only other thing that I would be looking for on this, and might put it as a condition, is we'd like to see an as-built plan of the information and what you finally built, including all the underground utilities that you're putting in, any information associated with that, drainage structures, rims and inverts, things like that, for the record. All right?
Yep, so the town gets a copy of the record drawings and also a certified as-built
As-built,
plan of the site for all the surface structures and things like that. Is that something that we just submit
Yep.
in addition to providing?
Just submit it to the Community Development Planning Office, and we just sign off on it then.
Likely doesn't happen for a couple of years
Yeah.
after construction's complete.
No, I understand.
The key is
Many of those-
The key is remembering to do, and in reality, is for me to remember to make sure that the team does that in the future, so.
There's often, we have someone who was seeking information, 5, 10 years down the road. Well, is there an as-built done to someplace? And sometimes they come to us versus somebody else, so.
Yep.
We asked for every applicant to provide us an as-built, so.
We have no problem doing it, and just as a,
Mr. Chairman,
we do provide it to the town, like the town has to, through DPW, get. a copy of all
I would
those.
imagine, yeah.
should we ask for a bond so that we make sure that they fulfill that request out? What do you think?
I don't know, I'm looking at waiving that. All right, I don't see any hands
Art,
raised.
I just
so-
had one quick thing.
Sure.
In the list of plans,
Yep,
it does indicate that there are 2 plans identified as CS002.
oh, yeah,
The second one is a site plan, but it also shows the landscaping. You just didn't give it a different number. It probably should have been the landscaping plan. I'm just pointing that out.
Yep.
Because it is still part of this. And I'll probably make the motion, so I may say pump station site plan showing landscaping.
yep. Okay, so let's go over that. I think we're looking for cutoff design on any lighting, right? We're looking for an as-built plan. Were there other things that?
You're
oh, wait,
looking for stormwater calculations and a written narrative as to how the stormwater will be handled on the site and along Cedar Street in this area, which shall be submitted to become part of the case file.
Part of the file, right? Right,
And then you also had lighting specifications shall be submitted to become part of the case file.
part of the file. Okay,
And you wanted to extend the erosion control.
well, they're gonna look at that, but I'll defer to the Conservation Commission associated with that particular one. All right, do I have a motion then?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the site plan as presented with the following general conditions. 1, the physical features and data shown on the site plan entitled Phase 1F-1 Sewer Extension Project Contract Number, quote, 2026-CWMP1, not 0, prepared by GHD Inc., dated 03/2025, represent the approved design and layout on subject property. Any deviation from the specified uses and layout constitutes a violation of the planning approval unless it is reviewed by and approved by the planning board. The plans include Plan Number C002, Cedar Street, which is the plan and profile 2, CS002, Pump Station Site Plan, CS001, Existing Site Plan, CS002, Pump Station Site Plan, in parens, showing landscaping, CD004, Structural Details, CD005, Site and Fencing Details. Number 2, certification by a licensed professional that all site work is completed in compliance with the approved plan is required prior to the issuance of an occupancy permit. certificate of use and occupancy by the building commissioner. And then the other two I mentioned regarding stormwater and lighting. And finally, that an as-built plan shall be submitted upon completion of the project.
Okay, do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Catherine Hepburn,
I approve.
Warren Chain,
Approve.
Bob Werschafter,
I approve.
Charlene Greenhall,
Approve.
Frank Shear,
Approve.
Bob Dubus,
Approve.
and Art Spru, I approve.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next we have an approval not required, Zero Little Beach, outermost. Do I have,
Nobody's here?
Don Pool's on.
nobody?
Oh.
Always.
Don Pool is on.
Okay. Could you introduce yourself for the record?
You're on mute.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yep,
Donald Poole
we
from
can hear
Outermost
you
Land
now.
Survey. Okay. Donald Poole from Outermost Land Survey, representing the Dugans at this property. We have about an acre of sand and a trust, and the members wish to divide the parcel according to their interest. A quarter acre will go to one client, 3/4 will go to the other client. The lots are not fronting on existing roads. There's a plan note that the lots are unbuildable. And I would ask that you determine this is not a subdivision and endorse it as approval not required, please.
Okay, board members, do you, let's start with you, Catherine. Do you have any comments or questions about this?
I do have a question, and it is noted in the staff report on this approval not required that the plan does not indicate how the Lot 188 and Lot 187, which lots are they, how are they getting conveyed? Usually, we'd just like to see a before and after on either subdivisions or on approval not requires, and we don't know how they're actually getting conveyed, because the plan does not indicate that I can see.
I don't know how they're going to be conveyed.
Don, we
I
were
was just
having
told to
trouble
divide the
hearing
property
you.
this way. I'm sorry?
Turn up your microphone,
Yeah.
please.
I think when you speak close to the computer, you're fine.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know which lot is going to whom at this point. It's not relevant for me. I was just told to divide the property as it's shown on the plan.
Okay. Any other comments, questions?
Can't tell what's going to happen, so.
On an A and R, that's what
Yeah.
is really unfortunate about A and Rs. We don't always know what's going to happen.
Happened to them, right?
Well, they have said that they're going to be two non-buildable parcels, right?
Exactly,
But we
so-
don't know who they're being conveyed to. It says they're going to be conveyed, so
Right.
you don't know who they're going to be conveyed to, if they're going to both be conveyed to the same one or to the,
So I have a question.
I guess we're more concerned about the one to the west, the southwest portion of the
little one.
property.
So I have a question, so.
Quarter acre parcel?
But aren't we concerned that it meets the requirements of the A and R? So if they're two non-buildable parcels, and will the resulting parcel, whoever receives them, or two that receive them, will that also be non-buildable? We just need to make sure that it meets the requirements of the A and R so that we can endorse it.
I'm not sure how it doesn't meet the requirements of an approval not required plan. I mean, if the lot 188 is conveyed to the 35 Little Beach Road property, it'll increase the size of that lot, but there's no dwellings on that lot already. It could be conveyed to me for all it matters, really. Maybe I'll have some beach.
And
I
Mr.
really
Chairman,
don't know what's happening to the lots.
and the fact that these are land-courted plans, land-courted lots,
Yep.
they may never be physically
Yep.
combined so that the lot line disappears.
Yep.
I think the fact that it does say that these are not buildable lots is clear,
Yep.
that these cannot be built upon.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, it's right, it's on the note right above our signature piece. I noticed that too.
And then also on the left-hand side of the plan, there's a note that clearly states it also. And if I might clarify for Charlene, actually, there is a method to eliminate the interior parcel lines of land court lots. But I don't think we're going that direction with this.
I kind of
Not that I'm aware
don't
of,
think
do you?
so either, but.
I've done it.
Any other questions? Catherine, you have your mic on. Any other? No. Warren, any other comments, questions?
No questions.
No questions. Charlene?
Nothing.
Frank Shear?
No questions.
Bob Dubus?
No questions.
I don't have any questions either. Okay, then we have a motion then for the approval? Endorsement, excuse me.
My sidekick over here just noticed a little typo.
Yep.
My sidekick just noticed a little typo, so we'll correct that in the motion. Thank you, Frank. Motion to endorse, I move that we endorse the A&R plan entitled Plan of Land, Little Beach Road, Chatham, Mass., prepared for Janet Gove Dugan, trustee, certificate number 214021, and document number 1385584, and being a division of Lot 113, Land Court Plan 12208-6, dated May 8, 2025, and prepared by Outermost Land Survey, Inc., as it meets the necessary requirements for endorsement.
And do I have a second?
I second.
All right, we'll do a roll call vote. Catherine Halpern?
Yes, I approve the endorsement.
Warren Chain?
Warren Chain, I approve.
Bob Dubus? Bob Worshafters?
I approve.
Charlene Greenall?
I approve.
Frank Shear?
I approve.
Bob Dubus?
I approve.
And Art Spur, I approve. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and members of the board.
Do we have that plan to sign tonight? Do we have that plan to endorse tonight? We do. Okay, thank you. So everybody sign before we leave tonight? All right, next item on the agenda is driveway in the Conservancy District. It is recommendations for 53 Little Beach Road. We heard this last time, and as noted by Christine, the zoning board has continued this application to October 23rd in order that the applicant might consider reducing the size of the structure within the flood zone. We could still review this as it is and make a comment. We could provide conditions associated with it, or we could wait until we get the updated plan and put our final comment on it. Frank?
This is really a question more than, the rule is, the bylaw rule is that the plans for such construction shall be submitted. And what we have is the site plan. In other words, we know where it's going to go, but we don't have any plans for the construction. So I'm wondering whether my interpretation is correct, that we should be seeing the plans for the construction of the driveway.
I guess that's a good point, yeah.
I mean, there has to be a plan and profile,
I would,
at least for conservation anyway.
Right.
And I would assume that we should get the same plan.
yeah,
Personally, I would feel more comfortable if we're commenting on the exact same thing that the zoning board of appeals is commenting on.
I agree with Charlene.
yep. The board members agree with that? I mean, we can table this until the future meeting when we receive the updated plan. I guess we can just do that. We don't have to vote on it or
Right.
anything, right? Okay.
But would the minutes of this meeting reflect that the plan will be a construction plan, not just a site plan?
Yeah, I think we'll
Okay,
ask,
all right.
we'll ask our
think Annie's got
planner
that.
through the ZBAs individual to see if they can provide that information in the subsequent submission. All right, that leaves us with, let me get my agenda here. Request for comment on the comprehensive permit for Meeting House Road. This is Penrose, this is the 40B project. I think that I wasn't planning on getting into any kind of final, comments and things like that. If their board has not had a chance to look into this in depth, it was only 634 pages if you looked at the whole thing, which I did do. It's a big document. It's hard to get your arms around it. I do have some initial thoughts associated with it. I'm not quite sure when the zoning board is going to be looking for our comments on this. Do you have some initial information on that, Christine?
They were asking for comments, they being the ZBA, were asking for comments for September 1st, I believe, or September 2nd. That's at the bottom of the email from Sarah Clark of the ZBA permitting. They say they have to open that public hearing on September 4th, but that doesn't mean necessarily that they're going to get through all of the pieces. They just usually read into the record some things like a letter that they would receive from you.
Okay. I was not planning on getting something to them that quickly. And I think if we go through some initial things that we all observed on this tonight and maybe get into it more in depth at our first meeting in September, then we can have a draft letter like we did on the previous 40B site that we can then review in detail. Why don't we begin with any of the board has any initial thoughts or comments on what they observed? I mean, Charlene, if you want to begin.
There's a lot of mention in the staff report, and thank you, this was a very good and thorough staff report. I'm very appreciative of it. It helped me go through the plans and such. With regard to the stormwater, this is still going to have to meet the stormwater permit, because that's a state requirement.
Yeah.
So with regard to stormwater, I'm comfortable because it will require a stormwater permit. I don't think we need to get into that because that has specific requirements under the state regulations. So I don't think we really need to get into that, except maybe to say, make that comment that this still will require, because it's obviously more than an acre of land's going to be disturbed.
Yes.
Will require a stormwater permit. So I think that will cover a number of things that Christine had brought up in her staff report.
And any others? I mean, by all means, continue if you have.
Honestly, other than that, I really don't have anything else.
Any other boards? Frank?
Yeah, I want to talk about sidewalks and the bike path for a minute. And maybe, there is a sidewalk going across the bridge, or whatever that is, the bridge.
Correct.
And then.
The access drive, yeah.
And does that sidewalk go down to 28? I mean, eventually, is it?
I believe it's supposed to.
It's supposed to?
That was, I think Christine picked up on this. It was in the original RFP that was part of the work to
Right.
go all the way down to 28.
Okay, so that should be the principal way for for pedestrians to go
Correct.
down into town.
Yes.
Fine. That probably alleviates my concern. The bike path is for bikes and, children and, occasional recreation. And my question is, you have this development with a sidewalk, in essence, going down to the bike path. And then the bike path becomes, in essence, a sidewalk going out to the road. So there'll be, I would assume, more traffic there than you would ordinarily have. And I don't know whether that's a concern or not, and I'm wondering whether we have an advisory bike group in town. Maybe
We
they
do.
ought to weigh in and on what they think.
Bike paths, if you know on the one that's in Chatham right now, it's 8 feet wide. It's with a stripe down the middle. It's intended for, you know,
I do ride the bike path,
Yeah,
so, yeah, I'm aware of it.
yeah, so, but I didn't notice that that's what was being proposed here. If
Well,
this is
there
a
is
bike
a-
path, or is it just a pedestrian path?
No, there's a pedestrian path from the development down to the bike path.
Yeah.
And that pedestrian path looks to be the same width as the sidewalks that are within the development.
Yeah.
So I'm just concerned that that becomes the principal
Yep.
way.
Yeah.
One way to deal with that is to make it more of a path and less of a sidewalk going down. So it kind
Correct.
of inhibits people. But I don't know whether I should be concerned about this or not. And I would think maybe the bike group in town might be the people to weigh in.
If I might, if it is
Yes.
a paved walkway, then it would have to comply with American with Disabilities Act.
Yeah.
So it would have to be a minimum of, is it 4 feet or 5 feet? I forget.
It would, I think the absolute minimum is 3, because it needs to be
It needs to be passable.
needs to be passable, but I can't imagine putting just 3 feet in nowadays.
Yeah.
It should be 4 or 5 feet as a minimum, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, there are times when the bike path is crowded. And pedestrians can get run down by bicycles. Half the bikes don't alert people. They just go whizzing by at very fast speeds. There are people using the bike path, which they shouldn't, with motorized bikes.
Oh, yeah.
And so I just thought, maybe someone better, more knowledgeable about this issue than I am might weigh in on that. So, anyway, that's a suggestion.
Okay, Catherine?
If I could ask, can I get a little clarity on how that would connect? Exactly how does that connect to the bike path?
Yeah, it's on the plan. Yeah.
The bike path is right here.
Okay.
Yeah. Here.
Annie, can you go to the,
Take
kind of the landscapey looking plan?
So it goes around the back, actually,
It goes off,
not out here.
yeah, it goes on the southern side of the site is where the pathway gets to
And
the
then
bike
it
path.
connects to the.
It connects to the bike path
And
here.
where's Meeting House Road is here?
Meeting
So they
House
could-
Road is here,
Okay.
right. They show,
Okay, that's
they
better.
show sidewalk up to Meeting House Road, but they don't show anything going to Route 28.
My only comment would be, it's good that the access to the bike path is sort of around the back and not right at Meeting House Road. That is a busy intersection. There's a lot of bikes that go across Meeting House Road there. There's also an issue with cars meeting that crossroads.
Yeah, I
of the
don't know
bike
whether we are competent to
Yeah.
make this decision. That's why I really wasn't saying it is an issue. I thought maybe people that are better knowledgeable should
Yeah.
weigh in
Yeah.
on it. So,
Charlene?
Putting my former planning hat on, I do believe having the pathway or sidewalk or whatever we're going to call it from the site down to the bikeway is a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's
Oh,
a
yeah.
great
It's a
idea.
very
Good
good
idea.
idea.
Yes,
Yeah, I'm
definitely.
not
And
debating
in
that.
addition to that, they also, based on the RFP, will need to put the sidewalk, which bicycles are not supposed to be on sidewalks.
Sidewalk, correct.
Correct, yes,
Down from the entrance to,
Right.
yes,
down to Route 28.
Right.
yes.
So, I certainly have no concern about access to the bike path
Right.
or the extension of a sidewalk down to Route 28 from the site. I think both are important for
Yes.
different, I use the bike path too, but I don't ride a bike because I fell off, so I walk.
No, I'm not worried about it being used for bike access. I'm worried about it becoming the principal pedestrian way. for people to go into town.
Yeah,
And, pedestrians on the bike path are an issue.
But they're not restricted from this
No,
particular
of
bike
course
path.
not.
Right.
Of course not. And so I also think it's a fabulous idea to connect the bike path. But whether it should be a 4-foot wide, ADA compliant, going down to the bike path, that kind of screams, that this is the way you go.
yeah.
But it would have to be, they couldn't do like a 2-foot wide pathway down there.
Okay.
They just can't.
But Frank, your choices are, they go down and walk on the bike path towards town, or they go down to 28 and they walk on 28.
Well,
So
28.
How is it not better that they're walking on the
Yeah.
bike path?
Well, if there is a sidewalk going from the bridge down to 28, which I think is,
But there is no sidewalk from 28.
but isn't there supposed to be?
It's,
Isn't there a sidewalk, but it's on the south side of Route 28? So getting over there,
Crosses the meeting
there is a
house.
there's a crosswalk, yeah.
there is a crosswalk
When,
that they just installed.
when MassDOT did an upgrade over the last few years, they did do a crosswalk there that went from the north side to the south side. But I'm not sure there's a continuous way to get directly into town with a continuous sidewalk. Certainly, certainly the bike path would be a much more easier route.
There is a sidewalk that goes from South Chatham all the way to town,
Oh, there is,
but
okay.
it does cross the road a few times.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Or at least, yeah, a couple of times, I would say.
I mean, it's going to be available to anyone who wants to use it. They can use Route 28, they can use the bike path to walk or bike to town if they wanted to.
Yeah, as I say, I don't personally know whether it's an issue or not. And I'm certainly willing to go with the consensus of the board. If they don't think it's worth investigating, that's fine with me.
One of the things that I noted, I think, as Catherine and Bob, you might remember this, Bailey's Path, that development there.
Correct.
They actually had a a bikeway that was connecting between their roadway and the bike path. And actually, as part of one of their conditions was to actually provide an easement associated with that so that it would always be available and wouldn't go away. Certainly, that would be something that we would like to recommend here is if they're gonna put a connector in here and it's intended to be for bikes and all of that, then there should be an easement so that it's never gonna go away. That would be important to do.
If you don't make a way for the bikes to go
Yeah.
to the bike trail,
Yeah.
they're gonna make a way through the woods.
That's right.
So it's better to control how they get on it.
I'm guessing that the way the route is they picked because of the difference in elevation there, and it's, even though you could probably make a shorter route another way, it's not necessarily going to be as easy because of the steep slopes. There's some steep slopes out there. Any other comments? I have a few, but wanted to hear from all the other board members.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned this before, but the drawing does not have the driveway from the northern abutters that actually is part of the existing property that's being cut off.
Correct.
And I think it does need to be on these maps, and it does need to show how the access to the two properties will be remediated.
My understanding is that was a work in progress and it hadn't been submitted yet. That is, I believe it's supposed to be submitted. They're supposed to be addressing that driveway, which is on this property here, how they're going to resolve that. Also, once this access, which goes across this particular piece of property, is cut off with this new access drive, they're supposed, and part of the RFP too says that your scope is to resolve the intersection that would be safe for those couple of properties there to access Route 137, Meeting House Road. So those are in progress, from what I understand, when I've had some discussions associated with this. I assume that we're going to get updated plans or additional plans associated with that. They state, for example, that they need to do some testing for the stormwater. That's in progress, and they don't have that information. So there's several things that they have noted that they owe. And I believe one of them was also the sidewalk that went to 28. That might be another one that was on the list of things. We can wait until the next meeting to see if they submit it, or we can request this, or we can note it as part of our letter. It's up to the board members on it.
I mean, we bring it up every time. It's until it's on.
Until we see it,
Plans we get.
we might as well put it on.
We might as well
Yeah.
keep telling them that we still expect to see it.
I think the other thing that is unclear is this access drive. How are they going to create that? They show it as being a way, but it's not necessarily going to be a way. So are they creating a separate split off of a piece of property? Are they doing an A&R associated with this? How are they accomplishing that? Because from what I understand, that is going to be turned over to the town. It's not going to be part of the site itself. So if that's the case, there needs to be a piece of property that's outlined that identifies what that is. That has to be created in some fashion or another. So I don't know where that is. I think it's a work in progress.
I didn't quite follow what you meant.
If you take a look at their plans, they show they're splitting off the access drive. Okay? That goes from the rear of the property to the front.
This is being split off.
Which one?
The old access drive's
No,
being
no,
split
no,
off?
I'm talking,
Okay,
they're
that's why
creating
I'm
a new
asking.
access drive, and
I would look at, sheet C,
I will tell you.
C4 is called the definitive subdivision plan. And we've asked the question, and we're waiting for some additional information, but the front access piece going in is technically, they're calling it an access way, but it's probably just more of an access drive is
So
what
the
we're being
the
told.
road itself would be its own division of land.
Correct.
Yes, but they don't want to call it a road because if they call it a
Exactly, so it would
road.
have to be done by approval not required. They can't do a subdivision plan to
Correct.
create that, yeah.
Yeah. So, but if you think about it, if that way is conveyed, or that drive property is conveyed to the town, all right? Take a look at the construction of that. There's a significant amount of fill that's being placed there. There's an embankment on each side. If there is to be any kind of maintenance that's going to be done by the town on that, there could be some erosion or some issues associated with the embankment. There needs to be easements associated with that too, so that the town would have the rights to go on to a private piece of property and do maintenance on it. Otherwise, they'll lose the roadway and there's no way for them to, without getting permission for it.
Very good point. And beyond that, the town's going to need easements to all the drainage.
Well,
Parts
that's
of that.
my follow-on thing,
Yeah.
is there's collection then in this particular access drive that is, I may even be collecting some of runoff from Meeting House Road. So that is being conveyed and discharging down into their detention basin area there. I agree with you, there needs to be some sort of an easement, because if that's associated with a parcel that the town will now own, operate, and maintain, then they would need rights also for the drainage to be discharging to their
Exactly.
their property, yeah.
Do we know why they want to do that?
So the funding source that came in to get the site, like a site readiness
Right.
loan, had to do with, that's why it has to stay in in public
Okay.
ownership or in town ownership. So we've asked the question of Katie and of Gloria. And so ultimately, it's not going to be seen as a road technically. It's going
Right.
to be
Right.
seen as an access
As
drive.
an access
But
drive.
they are going to be under separate ownership.
Okay.
So that the loan doesn't have to be paid back in the
Right.
same way.
Is there going to be, have they gotten approval for peer review for the drainage and for this situation?
Right now, they haven't yet, again, because the public hearing has not been open.
Okay.
So
I mean, if,
that is something that we recommended.
I strongly recommend that and include not just the drainage part of that, but the technical part that you described of the town having now maintenance of that. And I understand why the funding source wanted the town to then have this.
Yep.
That's actually pretty typical. Sometimes they just say that the town has to maintain it, not own it.
Right.
So the fact that they've now said ownership.
They have to own-
Well, in
I
this,
mean,
in this particular case, the Penrose is probably going to maintain it, is what it appears to be. So it'll be a little bit different.
Okay,
I think that they had to, when we asked the question, so the application had to be submitted by a certain date, and then it has to be heard or opened up by a certain date, which is why all of these things came in,
And,
you know,
and,
with all of the pieces in place.
and that's why I don't want to rush our comments. I want to develop them over several of our meetings. We could put several draft letters together before we actually send that along. I do have a couple others
yep,
for the list.
and I'm glad you do. But for the purposes of the meeting on September 4th, can we just simply say, we've done a preliminary review of the plan and look forward to
Yeah.
any revisions or additional information that may result from peer review and
That's
all of that.
exactly what I think you should do tonight, because you know, they're waiting for a response
Right.
technically. So just to show that you want to see additional information and to leave the door open to say more things.
I thought it was interesting in some of Christine's comments when she used the criteria, and I really like that. The criteria associated with traffic, it's interesting that their traffic study, this is Meeting House Road, this is 137. When is the busiest time? It's during the summer, probably on a weekend. They don't have any traffic information associated with that or any traffic analysis associated with the weekend, summer traffic congestion. And that should be what they should be analyzing, because that is going to be some of the most challenging times for this property to have access and et cetera. So I was sort of surprised to see that their traffic study completely avoided that. So that would be an item that I think that they need to, you know, go out there, do their counts, just like they did on the other weekdays. That might have been lesser onerous, but weekends are where everyone comes in. Saturdays are many changeover days where traffic is coming on and off. 137 is a major corridor for
And
that.
also, the Cape Cod Commission has a number of,
Yeah.
a number of traffic count information.
Yeah.
So they would be a good source
Sure.
to just, legitimize if there is more of a traffic issue on the weekends.
Yep.
Could I make a
But
comment on
they need to do it this weekend if they're gonna have to wait
Well,
till
you know,
next
right,
year. I mean,
that's a good point, you
And
know?
I think it's good that, if I could just comment that
Yeah.
Christine included in the report also to take into account the summer mass schedule for the church and the summer farmers market, which is on Tuesday. I mean, I live not far from there, and the Tuesday farmers market, that intersection is very, very busy. And that bike path that crosses Meeting House Road is very busy in the summer. So I think we do need to have more accurate traffic studies for the summer period, for Tuesdays when the farmers market is on, and for the church mass schedule to accommodate all those events. I think that's right.
I concur with you, Charlene, on the stormwater piece. I think one of the things I picked up in the criteria that was put out there for Penrose to comply with, and they actually submitted it as part of their proposal. They were going to do low-impact design, LID. There is none on this. Their proposal showed all sorts of features associated with that, because that proposal was in the 634 pages that I looked at and is not included in this. But there is no LID in this design. Now, what happened between their proposal, the criteria that's in the RFP that says that they should be doing this, and the plan that was submitted? It disappeared. I mean, we promote that all the time. We had Jam and Jelly. We asked them to take the pavement out, put some gravel in there, put a French drain in, put a rain garden in. Guess what? They did it. That's LID. Why is it that this applicant walked away from that? So those are things that perhaps we can ask for, even though somebody else is gonna perhaps comply with the design. That is something that the town asked for. They submitted, but they're not doing now. Let's see, bike racks, of course. They got a bikeway access, but we haven't seen any bike racks over there. I was just sort of surprised at a few of the many obvious things, and we may be doing, an initial letter, and we may have to do a follow-up letter as we get other information. So perhaps Christine and I can put some of these down into some sort of a draft form that we can start with, not necessarily issue for our next meeting, but perhaps we can just review that, see if there's other things that we should include or whatever, and then maybe finalize it later on in the month of September.
So I think what Charlene had said before, though, was maybe about getting something into them
Yes.
for their
Oh, still
September
do that.
2nd. Right, okay.
I'm
Yep.
talking about the more detailed one that could be multiple pages.
But I think there are a couple things we can include in the short letter.
Yeah.
One is, how all of a sudden did we go from, low-impact design to no low-impact design? Just some of those items, I think, could be quick little snippets that we include, and, and we look forward to reviewing even more as revisions become available. Because a lot of times on 40B applications, and I sit on the home consortium for the entire Barnstable County, which provides funding for low-income housing. You don't see final plans until you go for your final sign-off and loan applications. So it could be 2 years before anybody sees final plans. I'm hoping it's not that long, but it can take that long.
Yeah. I think that this application has got a timeline of about 180 days with the ZBA, though. So they do need to make some sort of a,
They do, but it will still grow
Yep.
from the comprehensive permit approval to final design
Okay.
and loan agreements.
Right, because this plan set is clearly labeled for permitting purposes only, not for construction. Every plan in the package is that way.
okay, so I'll work with Christine to get a brief letter out to the ZBA about this.
Do you want a motion, just so it's on the record?
We can certainly do that, yes.
I would move that the chair work with Christine to prepare a preliminary letter to the Zoning Board of Appeals indicating our preliminary review, highlighting some of the items as presented in the staff report,
Yep.
and that we look forward to
Yep.
further opportunity to review the plans.
Yes.
Okay,
And also just clearly stating that the letter is just a very partial comments. Yeah, so they know that we have additional concerns.
all right, do we want to have a roll call vote on this, or just?
You need a second.
All right, a second then?
I'll second it.
All right, then I'll do a roll call vote. Catherine?
Yes, I approve.
Warren?
I approve.
Bob Werschafter? Charlene?
Approve.
Frank?
Approve.
Bob Dubus?
Bob Dubus, approve.
Art Spru, I approve. Okay, and then maybe we'll get some sort of a start on a draft letter that we would build on for our next meeting then, in more detail. I do, oh, excuse me, yes. Can you please introduce yourself?
Brian Phillips, 374 Orleans Road. I guess my one question was, is 137 on town sewer? It's sewered?
It will be.
It will be, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right, thank you.
There's a pump station that's down on, right at 28 and 137 there. I'm not sure if it's been put alive yet.
It's not active right at the moment, but it's just waiting for the process.
Okay, all right,
All right, that was my question, thanks.
that's great. Any other, yes, Warren?
I just wanted to reiterate support for Frank's comments about access to the bike path.
Yeah.
137 is a very busy road, we all know that.
Yeah.
And we're going to be dumping, or encouraging, really, a lot of bike traffic
Yep.
from this development down to, guess where? The bike path.
Right,
But it also is a place where people will be walking to church, to the,
Yep.
and other places. And I'm not sure that there's room on what I've seen talked about here to have a very active bike path access to the town bike path, as well as a sidewalk.
yep.
Because if you've got bikes passing each other both ways, as well as a sidewalk, or does that mean it's a very wide bike path? Or do you have a sidewalk plus a bike path that goes from the development down to access to the town bike path? I'm not sure how it goes. I'm just very concerned that somehow or other that you don't end up with a 3 or 4 foot wide sidewalk, which is bikes going both directions plus people.
Most people, right.
Because what you're gonna end up with, the bikes are all on 137, which is not a good thing.
No, no.
So,
Very,
but
very
Frank
good
made the
points.
point, but it was just not clear to me
Yeah,
what the sense of the board was with respect to bike path plus sidewalk,
Yeah.
one or the other, and what they ought to be, because there's nothing in the plans which really talks about exactly what's being proposed.
I'll tell you what my preference is. The sidewalk on Meeting House Road, 5 feet wide. The connector to the bike path should be 8 feet wide, so that it could accommodate
And they're two
both,
separate
both,
things.
both traffic, both ways. That would be my suggestion associated.
That would be my strong
Yeah.
preference as well, because
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, maybe that's a comment that we can put together for the, the more detailed recommendation letter.
And the other comment I was going to make, I had several others, but I think they've been taken care of here adequately, other than the fact that we have submitted comments after the initial presentation here, virtually none of which has been reflected in anything that we've now been shown. And that's everything from lighting, it's everything from landscaping, it's everything from screening to the house on the north.
I think
where
we
do you
were,
put the snow, et
Yeah.
cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
yeah, we were looking for something to mitigate perhaps that property to the north. You have a tall, 35-foot tall building right next to a single family ranch-style building, and they could have made some adjustments to address that. I mean, there's no buffer, there's no vegetation, maybe there's a fence there, but I think that's a tough buy for an abutter to have something like that just plopped next to them.
It's actually, there's some fill that went in, so they're actually raising the ground level. a
Even
little bit
more, yeah.
Before they put up the 35-foot building,
yeah.
so.
Well,
Yeah.
I know based on what I read in the town now has this thing they're doing with information, other than the Cape Cod Chronicle. Chronicle does a great job, I'm not knocking them at all. But one of the things that I read is that the select board reviewed and made similar comments that, hey, this needs to abide by what was in the RFP.
Yep.
Which included some buffers in different areas. So I think they're going to nip it in the bud one way or the other, that,
Yeah.
you know, there needs to be some modification to what they're proposing. Maybe flipping, you know, the shorter homes, you know, the shorter structures to
Yep.
the north, or
Right. Correct.
to the north, and the taller ones to the south, where there is no physical abutter.
Good idea.
It's a bike path.
Yeah.
Good idea. Could I just make a comment,
Sure.
Mr. Chair? Just, I agree with what Warren has said and what Charlene has said, and if our letter, even this first draft of it, can somehow indicate that even the preliminary suggestions we made, we don't see them being implemented yet. And also, I just wanted to comment that the staff report that Christine did, and I'm sure you had a hand in it, Mr. Chair, was really great and very complete. And, you know, those are all the issues that we need to consider. So, so thank you both for
Okay.
that. Yeah.
All right, got some homework to do. If we've finished with that agenda item, we can move to the next one. Long-range planning, as promised, I put together. Actually, I looked at all the long-range planning that I received from Catherine since 2019. And she had like a little Bible there on one of them, back in 2019. It summarized everything up to that point. But I think I wanted to cull it down to some major related topic points, and I think it came up with these four. The last one, which is the seasonal seasonal communities, that is going to encompass several different things that were in the attached letter. With dwelling units and that, you know, affordable dwelling, a lot of that I think is going to come out in those guidelines in there. So I'm assuming that that is all going to be rolled underneath there. And, you know, until we understand it a little bit, I'm not sure how we're going to get our arms around it. Because if you take a look at all the items that are listed in the January 22nd, 2024, there's no way we could possibly deal with all of those, even if that was our number one priorities. So, Frank?
Just one comment on the seasonal. My understanding is that all of the provisions are our option. In other words, it's something that we can decide to do or not to do.
Correct.
So there's no particular legal urgency to pursue anything other than one of them, which is we are required to allow houses on small lots, non-conforming lots. And I don't know what that means, and I'll be looking forward to the help from the group that's looking at this, because that's a big topic.
Yep.
And so we are subject to that, and the question I have is, what are the limitations? What kind of criteria can we have in our local
Right.
bylaw to deal with this? And if we don't have them, are we all of a sudden faced with a situation where people are by right, have the right to put structures on small lots?
I think you bring a good point up. I think if the guidelines are going to come out sometime, you know, in September or around that time, perhaps that's something that we can have a little workshop meeting with several of the folks from community development, whether it's Gloria, Katie, Christine, and flush some of this out and define what are the things that we as a community of Chatham want to pursue as part of this. Just because seasonal communities says you have to do this, we still have to go forward with it and pass it. If it doesn't pass, then it doesn't get implemented. So, and I don't know what the implications associated with that are. Do we lose our status as a seasonal community? I don't know.
I don't think so. But
Okay.
one of the things that we really have to address right up front is the ability for people to put houses on small lots.
Yep.
And how do we deal with that?
Yep. Yeah.
So,
Can I ask a question?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
do we just, am I gonna sign a document that was clearly said no buildable on those properties?
That's correct, yeah.
And now you're telling me that's not actually valid?
I don't know what it means. That's what we need to understand, and what,
Well,
But also that those lots are not buildable for other reasons.
Other reasons, yeah.
I get.
Nothing
in
to
this
do with
case-
zoning.
In this case,
Yeah.
okay, but that's a really scary.
It is, if you think about all of the properties that are in the Conservancy District, that to me is a bit of a challenge. I mean,
Maybe. I say that only because Chatham won a court case that, of a lot that was in a
Yeah.
floodplain.
Yeah.
And said, it's not buildable.
Right.
And we won that
Okay.
case. So we do have that to back ourselves up on. We certainly don't want to build on, if there's a, 8,000 square foot completely dry lot, no conservancy, no anything, then that should be able to be built on, and it should be able to have some kind of a small dwelling on it based on whatever criteria we put together. But if we're going against Conservancy District or floodplain or anything like that, we can't do that. That's not good for the environment. It's not good for anybody who's
yeah,
going to be living there.
I doubt very much they're superseding those things. What I'm concerned about, I don't know what the
I was just trying to
actual,
address,
right, oh, sorry.
that's okay.
I don't know what the percentage of non-conforming lots is in Chatham, but I think it's fairly high.
Huge.
75%.
It might be like over 50%.
75% at least, I
75%, so
think.
if now we have to allow everyone to build, we really need to understand this quickly.
Yeah.
Because there may be things that we can do to affect
And that's
how
why we're
it's-
looking forward to the guidance documents that
Right.
they're going to,
Right,
until,
but-
we can
but there's a
speculate
lot
till
to
the
be done
cows come
here. I
home.
would put that as the number one priority. That's what I'm getting to.
And may I ask a question?
yeah, of course.
I'm not sure how this interfaces or intersects with our desire to create those, what we were calling those transitional or buffer zones on, especially with regards to West Chatham on the east side, where we were thinking to allow greater residential density, which could mean creating a new residential zone that
Right.
allowed for smaller lots.
Smaller lots, right?
So I don't know exactly how the question Frank is bringing up relates to, our desire to actually create a zone, a new zoning that might allow for smaller lots and denser residential construction.
Can I just ask for a clarification?
Sure.
I feel like I might have been in a time warp. The very end of the memo that Christine put together, very last approval of the designation at the 2024 annual town meeting. Did we do that at the 2025 annual town meeting?
Yes,
Okay, I was
Yes.
just like, did
no, I missed that too.
Where is that?
Very bottom of the page.
Here.
Right there.
approval, 2025.
Yeah, it was the May town meeting that just the current, yeah.
Yes,
Good catch.
yes, good catch.
A couple other things, going back to the top, on the West Chatham Neighborhood Center. I would like to discuss this a little bit with the board, maybe not necessarily tonight, but I'm thinking that we need to do an outreach in like the October timeframe, another one in the beginning of next year, and then perhaps one around the March or April timeframe. The first one would be to help us identify if there's anything that is a flag that we need to refine of what we've done. I'm not looking to change anything right now, but I'm looking for feedback associated with it. We haven't had that type of outreach, and I'm suggesting 3 at this point for the upcoming year. Certainly, there's nothing that I've identified or refined associated with that, but that's something that I think is important for us to do as part of that element and make sure that we did a lot of homework, we wrapped a lot of things up. Is there something that is or isn't going to go forward and support for the town meeting in May. Yes, Frank?
We almost got it through. We're
Right.
that close. So I'm not sure I tinker with it too much.
I'm not suggesting we do. I'm looking for actually an outreach to inform
Yeah, but
more
there
people.
are people that spoke against it.
Yeah,
And I would go back, and I'm happy to do that, look at the film,
yeah,
the tape,
yeah,
and see what was said against it.
right.
And so we can put together something in response to that, those particular comments. So at the next town meeting, we can actually say,
Yeah,
these are our responses to the comments that were made at the last town meeting.
yeah. And I would like to even do that at the outreach program, at meetings too. Yeah,
Could I make a comment, Mr. Chair?
sure.
I just want to say, I think your plan is great. I'll just,
It's not a plan. It's
Yes.
just a concept right now.
concept,
Three outreaches.
I'm just going to suggest, and we'll see how everyone feels, that we do more, just because I think in previous efforts, when we've wanted to put through a amendment to the zoning bylaws, sometimes we didn't get it through till the second time
Yeah.
around. I think that's what happened with the ADU.
ADU,
Yes.
it didn't pass first time.
But what was key was information, information, information.
Yeah,
And even though we almost passed it this time, and that was a great success, I still think the public just needs to be sort of barraged almost with information, information, information. I agree with Frank. I don't think we should change it because it almost went through.
Yep.
But I think we just need to repeat and give out the information again and again. Maybe even, so I would suggest, that's all I'm going to do, is suggest more frequent
Sure,
outreach.
sure, okay. Go ahead, Warren.
No, I didn't want to interrupt.
Okay.
My turn will come, I hope.
The next one on the rules and regulations, I've been working with Christine on, we do have stormwater regulations now in the town. The DPW has put that together. They've done that as part of their MS4 program that they were obligated to do. They've done it for their purposes, but they don't it doesn't really wrap in everything that we do as a planning board. And I've been working with Christine to actually create that. But what came up at the end of the town meeting with the article that those citizens petitions associated with the stormwater in the Conservancy District, and then in speaking with the Director of Natural Resources, Greg, he said that there should be some steps that the town takes to promote low-impact design. We don't have any criteria now, neither does the DPW associated with that. That is also something that ties in with the Conservancy District. Certainly, we would want to have low-impact design, and that's the only design we would want if we were going to encourage stormwater in the Conservancy District. In the draft that I had put together, and I was going to eventually share this upcoming year with the board on the stormwater piece, there's nothing in there on that because I had drafted this several years ago, and that was not my focus. My focus was to actually get some criteria that we could have applicants submit as part of their site plan in any subdivision. That's really the focus on that. It needs to be fleshed out with the board, but is that something that we should be pursuing, or as the MS4 program is recommending?
If I might, I'm sure, Christine, that you are part of the Mass Planners listserv. Throw something out there, because I know this exists already in subdivision rules and regulations, so that we may not have to reinvent the wheel, but there are some communities out there that have already looked into the low-impact, design work. So we may want to, as planners, we're always borrowing and stealing from other communities where it works. Where it doesn't work, we don't bother with them. But for where it works, the language may already be there. You may have to, smooth it here and there, but I think that might be a really good start so that you don't have to sit there and try and write something.
Yep. No, I agree. I think there's something out there already, and but if the board thinks that that's something that we should include right now, it's something that MS4 program is saying that we should initiate in the town. And I think we have been doing that. If you take a look at the Gem and Jelly place, if you take a look at 48 Sylvan, that is all low-impact design. You know, we put pervious surface roadway, we got rain gardens for stormwater in there. That's exactly what low-impact design is.
But that's not going to be covered under the planning board rules and regulations. That's got to be in zoning. We can do it for subdivisions,
Yes,
but
right. Well, in any respect, I think we need to have that stepped up as part of this. If it can go into regulations, or if it has to go into zoning, that's, then let's identify it and let's do it. I mean, it looks like what the citizen's petition was doing is it was actually incorporating something in zoning. So we certainly, if we're going to go down this pathway with the Conservancy District, we should identify that it should be low-impact design then, and what that means. The last one is the accessory dwelling unit that we put in here. Essentially, this is state law right now, and from what I understand, our town council says we have to modify and change what we have approved in zoning right now. So since it's state law, I believe this draft is going to come to us, and then we would be reviewing it and holding a public hearing on it. I don't know that we are going to have to do the legwork associated with this so much as others will do this for us. Pretty much like the flood regulation bylaw that we had to pass. It was complying with pretty much the state criteria. The edits were made, and we didn't do anything except for just, hold a public hearing and then make a recommendation to approve it at town meeting.
not to confuse matters, but
Yep.
it's also my understanding that we can actually have two different ADU bylaws. One that's compliant with the state, which, because I think that's I forget the minimum square footage that can be. And it has its criteria. If we want to allow something smaller than that, we can still do that under a special permit process. I believe that is what we can do, if we want to do it. I just want to, it doesn't preclude us, because I honestly, I can't forget what our language is, if we have a minimum or a maximum criteria for that.
I believe we have a maximum criteria.
So-
I don't believe we have a minimum, but we do say it has to contain certain elements as part of that.
Right.
Okay. That is somewhat a summary of the long-range planning that I had. Other comments by board members? Warren?
Well, when I first joined the planning board, there were two principal projects that were handed to us by the select board. One has come almost to the finish line now, the West Chatham Neighborhood Center zoning. The other was trying to wrestle with the question, how do we encourage homeowners to work with the housing stock that they have on non-conforming lots, and provide an incentive for them to work with those buildings to retain them rather than bulldozing them to build mega mansions. And somewhat related to that is any house too big?
The massing piece of
The
it?
massing piece of it. But the principal objective was to just retain the housing stock we have.
Right.
To the extent that it's possible to incentivize homeowners to utilize that, providing additional flexibility, guidelines for what you can do if you keep what you have, so on. Anyway, that project was dropped from active consideration due to the urgencies and the work required to get West Chatham Neighborhood Center to the finish line, or at least to the red zone.
Correct.
Not to belabor sports metaphors. I felt that, mostly due to my colleague on my right, we did a tremendous amount of work, which I think was getting fairly close to something that would resonate with the majority of the town as to things that were reasonably non-controversial, ways to incentivize homeowners to retain housing stock they had if they wish to make revisions and additions or whatever, as well as addressing, to some extent, the massing issue, is any house too big? I would like to see that on the agenda, because I think that I continue to see lovely houses being bulldozed and mega mansions being built. Some of them mini mega mansions, but on tiny lots, which are just as objectionable to me as well. And I know it's fallen off of even the 2024, because by then we were not worrying about the massing study or incentivizing retention of existing structures rather than demolition. But I don't know how the select board now feels, nor this board, because most of the, many of the members here are new.
If you recall, that was, a letter came from the select board identifying that as an item that the select board wanted the planning board to try to get their arms around. And it's a bit of a challenge. I mean, Bob, you did a lot of work associated with this, and I think the shocking thing that you advised us on is 75% of everything is non-conforming. So it's all special permit. It can be managed in that aspect, and many of them have been managed that way from the ZBA. If you see some of the direction that they're going in, most of these are all special permits, and if you want to put something on a smaller lot, you're not going to be able to put a 5,000 square foot home on it. You have to put something that's more manageable based on the size of the lot. And so that's something that they're doing already, because so many of the lots fall underneath the special permit criteria. So now what do you do with the other 25% that as of right? I don't know.
Well,
Can I make a
as we went in that direction, I think the board was concluding that we needed to develop some metrics, some criteria that would guide the special permit process.
Yep.
And, you know, that, and it was along the lines of, well, if you agree to work with what you've got and not put in a demolition request, then you'll be allowed to increase by such and such an amount, and so on. And there was a great deal of work that was done that would be guidance in terms of how to process special permit requests. Because again, it's 4 out of 5 houses that are, or lots that are involved here are non-conforming. And the question again of, is any lot too big, that would also be guidance, because a special permit request, there's no guidance or metrics in there as to, you know, how big is too big. I think we had a good bit of progress toward answering that question in a way that was, I think, not terribly controversial. But the bigger point was providing guidance, metrics, and criteria, and suggestions for approving special permit requests for additions that would incentivize an applicant to work with what they have rather than demolish what's there. And I'd like to see that work continued, whether it's a bylaw, whether it's a regulation, whether it's just guidance to the ZBA with respect to special permit reviews. That's, you know, that's another question.
All right, Catherine, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I just wanted to make a comment. I agree with Warren that somehow looking at the massing of residential structures is still a priority. I think it is true, Mr. Chair, what you said, that the current practice of the ZBA is more in the direction of modifying or moderating the massing of residential structures. I do have to say that it's a very important principle in the comprehensive plan. Ever since I've been on this planning board, it's always been a top priority. The select board reiterated that priority when they sent us that memo in, I think it was April of 2019. And it's absolutely correct what Warren said. It was tabled due to COVID and then due to giving priority to West Chatham Neighborhood Center and the ADU bylaw, et cetera, et cetera. I think if I could suppose, I think probably the only reason it's not on your list is because it's going to be a big chunk. It's going to take a lot of time and focus. And I would agree with you, Mr. Chair, that our top priority should be, even though we won't be making many changes to West Chatham Neighborhood Center, I think it's still our top priority to get that passed.
Correct.
But I would agree with Warren that I don't want to lose sight of addressing the issue of the massing of residential structures
Okay.
somehow.
Oh, I'd agree completely. Top priority is West Chatham Neighborhood Center. But I'd like it on the list.
Any other comments in here?
Yeah,
Yep,
well-
go ahead, Bob.
Well, first of all, I don't think I actually did a lot of work, but,
No, you did, total work.
but the amount that remained was far more substantial. So, unless we're gonna commit a big chunk of time, to dealing with this issue, I think it's probably better to wait to hear from the select board that it becomes a priority again. So that would be I think the perspective the four you have is right. The thing I want to make sure is understood is that the Conservation Commission and the Energy and Climate Action Committee are working on a bylaw, a conservation bylaw that is going to really need your waste water.
Stormwater?
Yeah, stormwater.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so we're counting on you being, I think there's Janet Williams is gonna be making a presentation to the select board in the next couple weeks.
I'm comfortable with the draft that I have. There's just, it needs to just be fleshed out with the board members. Right? Yeah.
I do want to mention just briefly that the driveway and the conservancy tonight, that you continued to the next meeting. The ZBA did in that particular case indicate that the massing was a little too big and to take it down a little bit.
Yeah.
So. But I don't think it necessarily can hurt to have it on the list somewhere. I mean, so it doesn't get lost in the future, you know, if it's something that's very
I
important.
have a thought.
Yep.
Presumably, these are the goals and objectives for next year,
That's, I think, the ones that we're gonna be able to tackle.
or this year and next year, the next 18 months, let's say,
Well,
right?
well, mostly till the June 30th.
Okay, I'm trying to get the time frame down.
Mm-hmm.
So these are for up to for the first half of next year,
That's correct.
right? Oh,
Because then there could be new board members,
Sure.
new leadership.
But by that time, presumably the annual meeting has occurred and the West Chatham
Correct.
is either on or off, and,
That's correct.
right?
Yep.
Passed, yes. I stand corrected. And I agree that massing I agree with Warren, that massing is a very important item.
Yes.
So I think it should be included, but it maybe should be a second half of the year priority. It's not, we shouldn't go at it first. I mean, that's my thought.
We'll refine the long-range priority list, and I think we'll put that back on. I don't think it was intentional to drop it off, but it has dropped off for the last couple of years, so.
Well,
But we'll put it back on.
But I think it's not only the massing, it's incentivizing preservation of existing housing stock.
Well, the two seem to go hand in hand, though, right?
They go hand in hand, but as I say, to me, it's as important as is anything too big.
Yeah.
To try and preserve the housing stock we have, which has a lot of character to it.
I was just going to say the saving grace with the rules and regs, that doesn't go to town meeting.
No, it
It just
doesn't.
requires a public hearing.
Correct.
So that is like the few of everything.
Right. So I'll be happy to set aside one meeting that we can just go over that, because once we review it, we'll need to officially do a public hearing on it. Public hearing will just be, after we close it, it would just be our vote that are required for it. I don't think there's going to be any mystery to it. I mean, if you saw the regulations from the DPW, it's not much different than that. It's supporting that. But what it does is it focuses on what it is that we do from a planning board perspective. All right, any other comments before we move to the next agenda item? Which is,
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adjourn this meeting.
do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, do a roll call vote. Catherine?
I approve.
Warren?
Approve.
Bob Wershaf?
Approve.
Charlene?
Yes.
Frank Scher?
Absolutely.
Bob Dubus?
Bob Dubus approves.
Art Sprue, I approve, and the time is 6:41 PM.